A few weeks before college started, Mom and Dad handed Chelsea and me each a debit card loaded with $30,000. Comments flew across my vision out of nowhere. Oh no. College hasn't even started, and she's already about to have the worst semester of her life. That 30 grand's going straight into Chelsea's pocket. She still doesn't know. The second she eats something Chelsea intentionally gives her, the money in that account transfers straight to Chelsea's. Living expenses, textbook money, even her Christmas cash. She's lost so much, and she still hasn't caught on. The comments scrolled by so fast my fingers froze on the card. They weren't wrong. For 18 years, money Mom and Dad gave me had a habit of vanishing into thin air. I always said it just disappeared. Nobody ever believed me. Chelsea smiled and pressed a box of chocolates into my hands. You finally get some cash and you're still moping? Here, have something sweet. I stared down at the chocolates in her hand. If I ate her food, she could take my money. So what would happen if everyone ate it? Chelsea held the box out, gift-wrapped and perfect. When I didn't move, she snapped off a piece and went to push it straight into my mouth. I don't want it. I threw my hand up to block her. The chocolate hit the floor. Her smile froze. Overhead, the comments kept flashing by in bright, garish colors. Wait, does she suspect something? This whole time, her money's been going straight to her sister. She has no idea her entire life has been fuel for Chelsea. My hand curled into a fist. All those years of money disappearing for no reason suddenly made sense. The first time my money vanished, I was 10. Relatives had given me $800 total in birthday and holiday cash. Mom and Dad said most of it needed to go into our college savings accounts, so they only let Chelsea and me keep $100 each to spend. I agreed. By the next morning, my $100 had disappeared. Mom and Dad assumed I'd lost it and chewed me out at the dinner table. Chelsea just watched me, her eyes round and innocent, saying nothing. Later, I noticed she had spending money for snacks the entire semester. In 8th grade, my dance studio's competition fee came due, $1,200. Mom transferred the money into my account so I could pay the studio online. On the way home, Chelsea bought me an iced coffee. By the time I opened the studio's payment portal, the $1,200 was gone. Mom yelled at me for that one too. I spent 6 hours calling the bank, checking every receipt and retracing every stop I had made that day. I came home sobbing. Later, Chelsea went out with friends and bought herself a designer dress she'd been eyeing. She told Mom and Dad it only cost a little over $100. I knew for a fact that dress cost $1,500. Junior year, right in the middle of AP exam season, $3,000, 6 months of my allowance, evaporated from my account overnight. I went to the bank to check the transaction history. The teller said I'd withdrawn it myself. I said I hadn't. They pulled up the security footage. The person on screen really was me. I told them I'd been at an evening SAT prep session at the public library. The program didn't keep formal attendance, and none of the other students could clearly remember when I had arrived. When Mom and Dad found out, they tore into me. Spending money like it grows on trees, and now you're lying too? Meanwhile, Chelsea posted photos from a concert on social media. She said she'd paid for the tickets herself from her part-time job. After that, my parents stopped trusting me completely. They controlled every dollar I touched, buying my necessities directly instead of giving me cash. I wasn't allowed to go out with friends. I couldn't save up for anything I wanted. I had no privacy left at all. The day of the SAT, Mom and Dad transferred $100 into my debit account for a cab to the testing center. That $100 disappeared before the cab even arrived. In the end, I begged the driver. He took one look at me, realized I had a test to get to, cursed under his breath, and drove me anyway, telling me I could settle the fare later. The memories crashed over me like a wave, then Chelsea's voice cut through them. I had these shipped in specially, you know. You don't have to throw one on the floor. I snapped back to the present. Mom and Dad were both glaring at me. I forced my hands to stop shaking and gave her a smile. I'm cutting back on sugar. I'll pass, but thanks. Chelsea's smile flickered, irritation flashing behind her eyes at having her plan interrupted. Then I'll get you some mints. Sugar-free, so you won't gain a thing. She dug a small tin of mints out of her bag and held it out. Mom sighed beside her. Just take it. Your sister's being so nice to you and you're still being difficult. I took the tin but didn't open it. If I ate one, that 30 grand would vanish the same way all that other money had. And Mom and Dad would just say it again. Wasting money again? Serves you right. The money already lost couldn't be clawed back by making a scene. But what if more than one person ate her food this time? Chelsea watched me, still smiling, her face the picture of concern. Josie, why aren't you eating one? They're sugar-free. You won't gain weight. Dad snapped. It's a mint. Why are you dragging this out? We've spoiled you rotten, haven't we? I didn't move. One thought looped in my head. Would it still work if someone else ate her candy? Mom, wanna try one? I popped the tin open and held one out to her. Chelsea bought them. They're probably good. Mom blinked, reaching for it, and Chelsea's expression changed in an instant. No. Her voice shot up so fast everyone in the room froze. Dad frowned. Chelsea, why are you reacting like that? She scrambled to smile. Dad, Mom doesn't like sweets. You forgot. Mom pulled her hand back. Oh, right. I don't really like sweet things. Josie, you have one. That was when the comments popped up again. Wait, does she suspect something? Look at her face. She panicked for a second there, ha ha ha. Of course she panicked. The system kicks in automatically. The second someone eats food Chelsea intentionally gave them, the money transfers within the hour. It clicked into place. If Mom had actually eaten that mint, her paycheck and savings would have poured straight into Chelsea's account, every last cent. Then it would only be a matter of time before the whole system got exposed. I lowered my eyes. I had a plan now. Chelsea pressed the tin straight into my hand. Here, Josie, eat one already. Don't worry, Mom and Dad. Her palm was warm. Her smile was gentle and flawless. Over the years, every time money went missing, Chelsea would kindly buy me meals. Then she would announce in front of Mom and Dad, Josie's broke again. I covered her. Mom and Dad praised her for being so thoughtful, then turned around and scolded me for not knowing how to manage money. A month before the SAT, the last $300 in my account disappeared. That was supposed to cover my living expenses and school supplies for the whole month. I cried myself sick that night. Chelsea pushed open my door, smiling. It's fine. I'll lend it to you. But when Mom and Dad found out, they said I was reckless with money and was distracting Chelsea from her own studying. They gave me another $500 and warned me again not to waste it. The morning of the SAT, Chelsea handed me an energy bar and said it would help with stamina. I ate it. When I went to pay for the cab, I found the money in my account gone. Thankfully, I still made it to the testing center in time. My score came in 30 points higher than Chelsea's. I took a breath and looked up, meeting her concerned gaze. I didn't open the tin. I slipped it straight into my pocket. Chelsea blinked. Why aren't you eating one? Just ate. Still got a taste in my mouth. I'll have one later. Mom snapped immediately. What is wrong with you? Your sister's being nice enough to give you candy and you're still finding excuses. Dad's face darkened too. It's candy, Josie. Just take it. Why do you always have to make everything difficult? Chelsea waved her hands quickly. Dad, Mom, it's fine. Let it go. If Josie doesn't want one, she doesn't have to eat it. But I saw the smile she couldn't quite hold back at the corner of her mouth. If I blew up right now and said there was something wrong with her candy, Mom and Dad would just think I was making trouble. In their eyes, Chelsea was perfect, and I was the reckless, lying, ungrateful kid. The second she said that, their anger flared even hotter. Your sister does nothing but look out for you, and this is what you do? I swear, I don't even know who you are anymore. Dad scoffed. Good grades and nothing else going for her. Forget it. Let her eat one or not. The comments picked up again. These parents. I'm speechless. The favoritism in this family is unreal. They have no idea the money's going straight to Chelsea, and they're still blaming their own daughter for being irresponsible. Girl, wake up. Do something already. Great. Now the family's about to guilt her into being the fall guy again. I lowered my eyes and slid my hand into my pocket. In my left pocket sat the mints I'd bought myself, packaged to look almost exactly like the ones Chelsea gave me. In my right pocket was the actual tin, the marked one. I pulled one from the left, unwrapped it, and popped it into my mouth. Fine. I ate it, I said, my mouth still full. Chelsea stared at my mouth for 2 seconds, then smiled. See? Was that so hard? Good, right? Good. I'll buy you more next time. Her voice went light and easy again. The comments practically sighed in relief. Close call. Good thing she normally buys these mints for herself. She bought it. Look at that smile. She can't even hide it. She actually pulled that off? Not bad. Mom's tone softened too. See, wasn't that easy? Dad didn't say anything else, just looked down at his phone. I chewed the mint, the cool sweetness spreading through my mouth. Chelsea's tin stayed exactly where it was, tucked safely in my right pocket. After dinner, I went back to my room and locked the door. I pulled out my phone and opened the banking app. $30,000. Not a cent missing. I let out a breath, then scrolled back through my old statements. The few $100s I'd had left over before were gone, probably siphoned off the last time I'd eaten something of hers. At least it wasn't much. Without a second thought, I transferred the entire $30,000 to Grandma's account. I told Grandma I was worried I'd spend it carelessly and wanted her to hold on to it for me. Grandma, sweet as ever, said my girl wouldn't waste money. I trust you. Call me if you need any of it, and I'll send it right back. I pushed down the lump in my throat and looked at the comments floating by. Good. At least she didn't just leave it there to get stolen. Props for that. Props for what? That's not exactly genius. It's just common sense. Chelsea's going to get suspicious when the money doesn't show up. Let's see how she handles this. The next day, I got back from my summer job at the coffee shop. I pushed open my bedroom door and found Chelsea crouched in front of my nightstand, the drawer yanked wide open, everything inside tossed around. She spun at the sound, panic flashing across her face. You're back already? Chelsea, what are you looking for? She stood up, brushed the dust off her knees, and smiled. Lost an earring. Thought maybe it fell in your room. Guess I was wrong. I knew exactly what she was looking for. The mints were hidden inside the cardboard sleeve of a tampon box. She'd gone through every inch of that room and never once touched it. The comments lost it. Hid it in a tampon box? That's genius, haha. Oh my god, she searched the whole room and missed the one place she would never check. Chelsea spoke up casually. Josie, where'd you put that 30 grand Mom and Dad gave you? My stomach dropped, but I kept my face still. Oh, I lent it to a friend. Lent it? All 30,000. Yeah. Her family had an emergency and needed cash fast. She said she'd pay me back before school starts. Chelsea stared at me for a few long seconds, like she was weighing whether I was lying. Is she finally waking up? She can lie now too. Weak excuse, but it'll hold. If Chelsea pushes, just give her a friend's name. I met her gaze without flinching. She finally looked away and smiled. Fine. Just make sure she writes you an IOU. Sure. She turned and left. I shut the door and let out a long breath. A minute later, she was knocking again. I opened the door and she was holding 2 iced coffees. She handed one to me. Josie, I got you one. It's hot out. Drink something cold. Don't worry, it's sugar-free. I stared at the cup. Comments drifted past again. Another one? Does she think you're that gullible? Don't drink it. Oh, she already did. Okay, whatever makes you happy, I guess. I hesitated, then took it anyway and drank a sip. The sickly sweetness spread through my mouth and I swallowed. Chelsea watched my throat, saw me swallow, and the corner of her mouth curled up. My 30,000 had already been moved to Grandma's account. No matter how powerful her system was, it couldn't pull money from an account that no longer held it. But to make sure she'd never suspect anything, I'd left $1,200 in the account on purpose, money I'd earned working at the coffee shop that summer. 2 weeks on my feet behind that counter for that. Chelsea headed to the bathroom pretty quickly after that. I pulled out my phone and opened the app. Balance, $0. The $1,200 was gone. The comments sighed. Ugh, there it goes. That $1,200 hurts. Consider it the cost of peace of mind. Worth it. I feel like she's cooking up something big. Don't tease. She hasn't caught a single break in years. They were right. That $1,200 was the price of admission. If she didn't get that money, she'd start to suspect the system was broken, and she'd try some other way to test me. Then the whole plan for the graduation dinner could fall apart. Sure enough, when Chelsea came back from the bathroom, her smile was brighter than it had been in days. For the next 2 days, she stopped testing me altogether. She spent that time planning the graduation dinner with Mom and Dad instead, booking the venue, sending out invitations, and picking the menu. She was completely in her element. Every so often, a relative would ask in the family group chat what I was doing. Mom would just reply, "She spends money like it's nothing. We already give her an allowance, and she's still out there working." Then everyone would start praising Chelsea instead. Chelsea has great grades, and she's so considerate. We got so lucky with her. The family group chat only ever showed off Chelsea's score report. Mom would say, "Chelsea already got her acceptance letter from Ravenwood State University, and with that 1520, she'll probably land a merit scholarship too." If anyone brought me up, Mom would wave it off. Josie? Well, getting into any college at all would already be something. The comments picked back up. A 1550 and nobody even asks? Where are this family's priorities? Character matters more than a score, come on. Excuse me, what's wrong with her character? Somebody explain that one. I scored a 1550, 30 points higher than Chelsea. By then, I'd already received my college decisions and completed my financial aid forms. I never told anyone where I had been accepted. Mom and Dad knew I had applied. But maybe because of my supposed habit of lying, they let it erase every good thing about me. I shut myself in my room and pulled out the tin of mints. The comments had already revealed one more rule. Anything Chelsea intentionally gave away remained linked to her system, even if it was crushed or mixed into other food. Using a small knife, I scraped the mints down to a fine powder and sealed it in a small plastic bag. A thin, unremarkable layer. The mints themselves were harmless. But they were more than enough to make Chelsea's system process 20-some people at once. The morning of the graduation dinner, I got up early and headed straight to the hotel kitchen before anyone else arrived. "Hi, I'm one of the host family's daughters. Just checking on how the food's coming along," I said, smiling at the head chef. "Well, aren't you a hard worker?" he said, nodding. I pretended to help plate the food. When nobody was watching, I emptied the entire bag of powder into the pot simmering on the stove. It was the last course of the night, the restaurant's signature soup, one bowl for every guest. I stirred it with a long ladle. The powder dissolved instantly, disappearing without a trace. The comments floated by. "Oh my God. She's really going for everyone at once." I stepped out of the kitchen and back into the hotel lobby. Relatives started arriving one after another. Uncle Mike pulled up in his black SUV, dressed sharply in a suit. Aunt Linda came straight from her shift at the bank, briefcase still in hand. Cousin Jake showed up in casual clothes after finishing his shift at the police department. Everyone settled around the table, loud and cheerful. Dad stood up and raised his glass. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate Chelsea. She just got her acceptance letter and a scholarship from Ravenwood State University, the first major college acceptance in our family." Everyone clapped. Uncle Mike clapped Chelsea on the shoulder. "Don't forget us once you make it big, Chelsea." Aunt Linda smiled. Chelsea's always had her head on straight. Great grades, and she already knows what she wants to study. We're all so proud. Cousin Jake chimed in. "That's awesome. Ravenwood State has a solid program too." Every eye at the table turned to me. Mom sighed. "Don't even get me started. A month's allowance gone in days, and then she lies about it going missing." I kept my head down, fingers digging into the tablecloth. Chelsea sat beside me, the corner of her mouth curved up, basking in the attention. Uncle Mike waved a hand. All right. She's still young. She'll learn." Then he grinned. "Back in my day, I worked 2 summer jobs just to afford a used car. Kids have it easy now." He turned back to Chelsea. "You've clearly got your head screwed on right, though. Keep that up in college." Chelsea smiled sweetly, her voice soft as honey. Don't worry, Uncle Mike. I will. The comments came in fast. Wow, the whole family's dragging her while hyping up Chelsea. My blood pressure is rising just reading this. Chelsea's eating up every second of it. Josie has the best poker face in the world. I would have flipped the table by now. The wine kept flowing. The dishes kept coming. Then the waiter brought out the last course. All right, everyone, time for soup. This is the house specialty, Dad announced. 1 bowl for everyone. Nobody skipped it. I picked up my own bowl and took a sip. It tasted exactly the same as always. But I knew that from this moment on, nothing would ever be the same. Aunt Linda set her bowl down, dabbed her mouth, and smiled. Chelsea and Josie are both about to head off to college. We should give them something as their elders. Uncle Mike nodded. Right. I already got it ready. $10,000 each for both of you. A little graduation gift. The second he said it, something flickered across Chelsea's face. She quickly dropped a piece of rib into my bowl, her voice syrupy smooth. Josie, don't just drink soup. Have some me too. I knew exactly what she was up to. I nodded and put the rib in my mouth. Chelsea watched my throat, saw me swallow, and only then did the corner of her mouth curl up, satisfied. The comments floated by. Oh no, Chelsea's trying to pocket the 10 grand Uncle Mike just sent too. Good thing Josie was already prepared for this. Uncle Mike finished the transfer and looked up at me. Josie, did it come through? 10,000. I checked my phone. The balance hadn't moved. I shook my head. Didn't get it, Uncle Mike. His face darkened. That can't be right. I definitely sent it. Aunt Linda muttered beside him. Josie, you're not lying again, are you? You're old enough to know better. Mom and Dad shot me the same suspicious look. I opened my mouth to explain, but Uncle Mike had already pulled his phone back out and refreshed the app. His smile froze. Huh. He frowned. Why is my account empty? Aunt Linda pulled out her own phone, her face going white. Mine's gone too. Hundreds of thousands. All of it. Cousin Jake moved even faster, already on the phone with his bank's fraud department. I need an emergency review. My account balance just disappeared. In the chaos, Chelsea grabbed her own phone in a panic, meaning to check if her money was still there. Her fingers froze mid-motion. The comments floated by. She just found out. Her account is suddenly loaded. Look at her face. She looks like she wants to crawl under the table. But she can't say anything. The second she does, the whole system is exposed. Chelsea's head snapped up. Her gaze swept past everyone else and landed directly on me. There was terror in her eyes. Suspicion. A fear she wasn't ready to confirm. I set my bowl down and met her eyes. I smiled, curling my lips and mouthed the words slowly, just for her to see. Happy graduation. Like your gift. At the sight of my mouth moving, the color drained from Chelsea's face. Her mouth opened like she wanted to say something, but nothing came out. The real chaos hadn't even started yet. Uncle Mike scrolled through his phone again, frowning, his voice heavy. The $5 million in my account. Completely wiped out. Aunt Linda panicked too. Mine too. I just checked my investment account. It's all gone. Mom fumbled to open her own banking app, froze for a second, and her voice changed entirely. Mine's gone too. Mine and your dad's paychecks, both accounts are empty. Dad shot to his feet. What? He snatched Mom's phone and looked. His face went pale. The comments came fast. Even the parents' money is gone? Let's see them defend her now. Josie has about $50 left in her account. Being poor really paid off this time, LOL. Chelsea, I stole everyone's money. The system. Wow, you're so above it all. I glanced down at my own banking app. Balance, $0. The last few dollars I had, along with the 10,000 Uncle Mike had just sent, were both gone. Cousin Jake hung up his call, his jaw tight. The bank says my money was transferred out a few minutes ago. I'm calling 911. Then he looked around the table. I'm related to everyone here, so once officers arrive, I'm only a witness. I won't be involved in the investigation. Right, call the police. Uncle Mike snapped back to attention. This many people's accounts disappearing at once means something is seriously wrong. Chelsea's whole body had started shaking. She edged toward the door without anyone noticing, but Uncle Dan happened to be standing right in her way. She glanced toward the window. 3rd floor. She had nowhere to go without drawing attention. The comments floated by. She's trying to make a run for it. Look at those tiny little steps. The door is blocked, and everyone would see her at the window. Ha ha ha. Serves her right. Just wait it out. Less than 20 minutes later, 2 police cars pulled up. 3 officers walked into the private dining room. The lead officer, a man in his 40s with sharp eyes, looked around. Who called this in? Cousin Jake stepped forward. I did. More than 20 bank accounts were emptied at nearly the same time. We're talking about a massive amount. He showed the officer his identification. I'm also related to everyone here, so I'm stepping back as a witness. Understood. His eyes swept the room, taking in every panicked face. Please remain here while we take statements and document the transfers. The younger officer behind him pulled out a tablet and started contacting the bank's fraud departments. The air in the room felt like it had been sucked dry. Nobody spoke. There were only phones buzzing over and over and the occasional stifled sob. Chelsea sat with her head down, her knuckles white around her phone. The comments picked up. Scared now? Wasn't so fun taking all that money, was it? Too bad there's no running from this anymore. Once the banks trace the receiving account, she's done. After several emergency calls, the younger officer walked over to the lead officer and murmured something. The lead officer's frown deepened. He finally looked up and scanned the crowd. Which one of you is Chelsea Bennett? Chelsea's whole body locked up, like she'd been shocked. Mom nudged her. Chelsea, the officer's talking to you. Don't be scared. Just cooperate. Chelsea rose slowly, her legs shaking. The officer fixed his eyes on her. Is your account the one ending in 3827? Chelsea nodded, her lips trembling. Based on the preliminary transaction alerts, your account received transfers from 26 different accounts within the same 6-minute window. The officer's voice wasn't loud, but it landed like a bomb in the middle of the room. The reported total is more than $24 million, and it closely matches what your relatives say is missing. Chapter 6. The second the officer's words landed, the room went dead silent. Uncle Mike was the first to react. Officer, isn't there some mistake? She's sitting right here with us. She hasn't done a thing. Aunt Linda frowned too, skeptical. Chelsea's only 18. How could she pull off something like this? Is it a system glitch on the bank's end? Mom panicked too. You've got to be wrong. My Chelsea isn't like that. Chelsea sat with her head down, her shoulders trembling slightly, saying nothing. The comments came in. Chelsea built up such a perfect image that the whole family still doesn't believe it. She's probably trying to figure out how to talk her way out of this right now. But the money is literally in her account. How is she going to explain that? Several hours later, after statements had been taken and the bank's fraud teams had reviewed the preliminary logs, the younger officer returned to the lead detective with a strange expression. Detective, the banks pulled the first set of transfer records. And? The officer lowered his voice, but the room was so quiet that everyone heard him. The records show every transfer as voluntary and initiated from each account holder's own device. Uncle Mike shot up. That's impossible. I never touched my phone. Aunt Linda panicked too. Right. My phone never left my hand. Who did this? The officer continued. The hotel's security footage shows the transfers happened while everyone was eating. Nobody appears to be operating their phone at the relevant time. The detective frowned. Then how did the money move? The bank's technical teams haven't found a normal outside breach yet. The officer swallowed. Every transfer looks like it came from the account holder, but the footage contradicts that. For now, they're treating it as an anomalous event and preserving the original logs. The comments came fast. Haha, the system altered the records too. But moving that much money for that many people at once, did the system glitch? Look at Chelsea's face. She looks shaken too. I glanced at Chelsea out of the corner of my eye. Her face had gone even whiter than before. Her lips trembled. She knew exactly what was happening. Every time the system moved money, it automatically falsified the transaction records and altered any available footage. But this time, It had transferred money from more than 20 people at once. Every bank record and camera feed would have needed to be altered. The system had probably overloaded trying to keep up. The comments picked up. Called it. The system couldn't handle the load. Serves her right for moving that much at once. Now the records conflict, and that's exactly what gave her away. The detective was quiet for a moment, then looked at Chelsea. Chelsea Bennett, we need to preserve your phone for technical analysis. Chelsea's head snapped up, her voice shaking. Why? I haven't done anything wrong. If you consent, we can begin immediately. If you refuse, we'll request a warrant. Chelsea's hand shot toward the screen as if she were about to lock or erase something. The detective stepped forward. Don't alter the device. Her eyes went red, tears spilling down her face. The comments came in. She's scared they'll find the system on her phone. Too late for that now. She should have thought about this before. The detective secured the phone in an evidence bag to preserve it while a warrant was requested. The room fell silent again. Uncle Mike sighed and sank back into his chair, all the fight gone out of him. Aunt Linda dabbed at her eyes beside him. Uncle Dan stared down at the table, his fingers trembling. Mom stood there helplessly, glancing between Chelsea and me. Josie. She came over, her voice careful. Are you okay? I nodded. I'm fine. A few comments drifted by. Mom finally remembers Josie exists. Bit late for that. She only remembers to check on her once Chelsea is in trouble. Wow. Dad spoke up suddenly, his voice rough. Josie. Your money too? It's gone. I nodded. The last few dollars I had. All gone. Dad let out a breath. Just a few dollars. That's something at least. More comments rolled in. Poor Josie. Even her last few dollars got taken. At least the 30 grand is already safe with Grandma. Is Dad actually feeling guilty right now? That was when Aunt Carol spoke up. Oh, right. Josie, you took the SAT at the same time as Chelsea, didn't you? What did you end up scoring? Everyone froze. The comments spiked. Here it comes. Finally, someone's asking about Josie's score. This is about to be good. I kept my head down, my voice quiet. 1550. The room went still for a beat. How much? Uncle Mike's eyes went wide. 1550, I repeated. The comments exploded. Yes! Look at their faces. Chelsea got a 1520 and the whole family threw a party. Josie got a 1550 and nobody even asked. Aunt Linda covered her mouth. That's 30 points higher than Chelsea. Josie, why didn't you say anything sooner? I just shook my head. Aunt Linda turned to Mom and Dad, both of them standing there, visibly uncomfortable. You two are Josie's parents too. Why has all the focus been on throwing Chelsea a party? Mom opened her mouth. Nothing came out. A hush of comments followed. Straight to the heart. Has anyone in this family ever once asked about Josie's score? Chelsea's score got framed on the wall. Josie kept hers locked inside her own chest. Dad lowered his head, his shoulders shaking slightly. Uncle Mike snapped out of it and slammed the table. 1,550? That's an outstanding score. We have a kid who could compete for the best schools in the country, and nobody thought to tell me. Uncle Dan got excited too. With grades and a score like that, you could be looking at serious financial aid. I nodded. The room stirred all over again. So did the comments. Finally. Her light can't be hidden anymore. Chelsea stole everyone's money, but she could never steal Josie's score. This is what a real graduation gift looks like. Chelsea sat in the corner, listening to all of it, her face almost translucent. She looked up and met my eyes. There was hatred in them. Resentment. Underneath all of it, a deep, irreversible despair. The last comments came through. Chelsea's face right now. So satisfying. She stole everyone's money, but she could never steal Josie's future. Josie wins this round clean. The detective walked over to Chelsea. Chelsea Bennett, we need you to come with us for further questioning. Chelsea stood, her legs shaking, but she didn't fight it. As she passed me, she stopped for a second, her lips moving, but nothing came out. I watched her walk away. I didn't feel hatred. I didn't feel triumph either. Just a quiet, settled kind of peace. The next few days, the house felt covered in a layer of gray. Mom and Dad barely spoke. Every so often, their eyes would meet, then dart away again. Chelsea's door stayed shut. Nobody went in. Mom and Dad started trying to be nicer to me, but I didn't feel touched by it anymore. No warmth. No relief. Just nothing. I kept going to my coffee shop job every day like always. After my shift, I would stop by Grandma's for dinner. Grandma never asked too many questions. Every time she saw me, she just smiled and said, "Eat more, sweetheart." A few comments trickled by. Grandma is the only warmth in this whole story. Mom and Dad must be tearing themselves apart right now. Once the investigation wraps up, everything will come out. On the 5th day, Cousin Jay called and told the whole family to come down to the police department. "The preliminary results are in," he said, his voice heavy. "You should come." Mom and Dad changed into clean clothes. Nobody said a word the whole ride. I sat in the back, watching the street slide past the window, feeling strangely calm. More comments rolled through. Finally, some answers. There's no hiding Chelsea's system now. Wonder how Mom and Dad are going to react to this. The conference room was packed. Besides the lead detective from before, there were 2 digital forensics specialists with laptops and evidence cases, and a middle-aged man in glasses. He introduced himself as Special Agent Reynolds from the Federal Anomalous Technology Task Force. Chelsea sat at the far end of the long table, her head down and her hair a mess. Special Agent Reynolds opened a folder. After a technical forensic review, we found an encrypted program of unknown origin installed on Chelsea Bennett's phone. This program has an unconventional ability to alter data and move funds from other people's accounts under specific conditions. Mom's hands gripped the arms of her chair. The program activates whenever food or drink intentionally given by Chelsea Bennett is consumed, Reynolds continued. The system's marker remains active even if the item is broken apart or mixed into other food. It simultaneously falsifies bank records and available security footage to make it look like the account holder acted on their own. Dad's voice was tight. And the money? All receiving funds have been frozen. The banks will return them according to the original transaction records. Reynolds turned to me. "Josie Bennett, since you were 10 years old, a total of $68,000 has been transferred out of accounts belonging to you and into Chelsea Bennett's account. The losses you remembered were only part of it. We found dozens of smaller transfers as well. That money will be returned." The room went quiet. Dad turned to look at me, his lips trembling. Reynolds added, "One more thing. The $30,000 you transferred to your grandmother 3 days before the graduation dinner was a normal transaction, unrelated to the program." I nodded. Mom suddenly collapsed into her chair, her hands over her face, sobbing. How did I raise a daughter like this? How? Dad didn't move to comfort her. He just sat there, his head down and his shoulders shaking. After a long moment, he stood, walked over to me, and spoke, his voice hoarse. "Josie, I was wrong about you. Why didn't you ever tell me any of this?" My eyes stung, but no tears came. "I did tell you. Every single time money went missing, I said it wasn't me. Nobody believed me." Dad's shoulders jerked, and he slowly sank into the nearest chair. Mom cried even harder. Chelsea finally spoke, her voice thin and cracked. "Mom, Dad, I'm sorry." But her eyes swept past everyone else in the room and landed on me last. Something bitter and unresolved flickered in them. A quieter wave of comments passed through. "She's still holding on to hatred for Josie. She clearly doesn't think she did anything wrong." Uncle Mike had arrived too and was standing awkwardly by the door. He walked in and patted my shoulder. "Josie, I said some things earlier that I shouldn't have. Don't take them to heart." Aunt Linda followed behind him, her head down. "Josie, we were blind." Uncle Dan didn't say anything. He just gave me an apologetic nod. A few more comments followed. Even the relatives are apologizing now. They sure had a lot to say when they were dragging Josie earlier. Chelsea watched all of it, crying even harder, her lips trembling. She finally understood. This time, nobody was on her side anymore. Special Agent Reynolds closed the folder. The earlier incidents that occurred while Chelsea was a minor will be reviewed separately. Federal prosecutors will focus on the graduation dinner transfers, the altered financial records, and the anomalous program itself. Everyone else is free to go. Outside the police station, the sun was bright and clear. My phone buzzed. A text from Grandma. "Sweetheart, coming for dinner tonight?" I made pot roast. I let a small smile pull at my mouth and typed back one word. Coming. The banks issued temporary credits within a week. Several weeks later, the reversals were finalized. $68,000. Not a cent short. Combined with the $30,000 I'd already sent to Grandma, I had almost $100,000 available. Together with my financial aid package, it was more than enough to cover what I would need for college. Uncle Mike posted in the family group chat. "We're all pitching in for Josie's remaining college expenses. We owe her that much after everything." Right after, my phone started buzzing nonstop. Uncle Mike sent $20,000. Aunt Linda sent $15,000. Uncle Dan sent $10,000. Every transfer had the same note. A graduation gift for Josie. I didn't refuse any of it. I took all of it. A few comments passed by. The relatives finally grew a conscience. Double the payout. Guess that counts as decent barely. Mom and Dad started trying to make things right. Mom would pile food onto my plate at dinner, her voice careful. "Josie, eat more." Dad would ask before I left the house, "What time will you be back? Want me to pick you up?" Every time I answered politely, "Thanks, Mom." "No need, Dad." Not too close. Not too cold. Just steady, careful distance. One night, Mom's eyes went red. "Josie, are you still upset with us?" I paused for a second. "No, I'm just not used to this yet." Her tears started falling right then. She pulled me into a hug and kept saying, "I'm sorry," over and over. Chelsea's sentencing came down later that summer. Financial fraud involving a massive amount of money. Because some of the earlier incidents happened while she was still a minor, those were handled separately. For the graduation dinner transfers and the attempted concealment, she accepted a plea agreement. Every dollar had been recovered, and the authorities treated the anomalous system as an unprecedented factor in the case. In the end, Chelsea was sentenced to 3 years in federal custody, followed by 4 supervised release, plus mandatory enrollment in a federal system removal program. Cousin Jake only told me what had already become public record. The program would sever the connection between Chelsea and the system completely. The process would be difficult, but necessary. Once she's out, she'll be a normal person, he said. I never asked how she was doing in there. A last handful of comments drifted through. 3 years plus a removal program. Chelsea's life as she knew it is over. Karma is karma. She should have thought about this before she left her own sister broke and working part-time jobs to survive. By late August, move-in was only days away. My Princeton acceptance letter had arrived months earlier, but I had never shown it to anyone. Princeton had been my first choice from the start. My 1550 SAT score, grades, tutoring work, essays, and financial aid application had earned me a place there. Mom and Dad offered to drive me up for move-in. I told them it wasn't necessary. I can handle it myself. Mom looked like she wanted to argue, but Dad caught her arm. He looked at me and nodded. All right. Be safe on the trip. The day before I left, I went to see Grandma. She pressed a worn, thick envelope into my hands, stuffed with cash. I always believed in you, sweetheart, she said, smiling as she smoothed my hair back. Go on now. Study hard. That was when the tears finally came. Not out of sadness. Not out of resentment. It was the first time in 3 years, in 6 years, in 18 years, that someone had believed in me from the very start, without needing proof. That kind of warmth. A soft round of comments followed. Grandma really is the only warmth in this whole story. Don't cry, girl. It only gets better from here. On September 1st, I pulled my suitcase behind me and boarded a train heading northeast alone. Outside the window, the fields rushed past. Sunlight fell warm across the back of my hand. The comments scrolled past my vision one last time. Good luck, Josie Bennett. This time, this life is exactly what you deserve.
This is Listening Novel. We appreciate you spending your time with us. If you enjoyed today's story, Please like and subscribe for more stories, and stay tuned for what's next.